So how is corporate India reacting? A quick look at India Inc. Here's CNBC TV 18 executive editor Chairamn talking to some corporate leaders to get their reactions on the budget.
For the infrastructure sector, the setting up of the road regulator, Vinayak Chatterjee, would that be the headline for the infrastructure sector?
It would actually. It's a very, very welcome move, and it would certainly greatly improve sentiment in the road sector, which, as you know, in the last 2-3 months has taken a reasonable dip. So it would increase sentiment tremendously in the road sector, and in the policy expectations from the budget, that's really the one big ticket item that we've got from the infrastructure sector. Plus, on the policy fronts, there's actually a lot of work in process, and he pressed all those buttons: infrastructure debt funds, coal, gas, ports, JNURM, Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, tax-free bonds for for the infra, the facilities to infrastructure debt funds. So he pressed all the right buttons of work in process, but as you rightly said, the big ticket item is the road regulator, and there are about 10-12 fairly positive interventions.
And falling short on the power sector, the sunset clause being extended only by 1 year as opposed to 5 years, which is what we were
that is a little disheartening actually, because when you take an investment decision for a power plant, I wish he had made it contiguous with the 12th planned term, which is till 31st March 2017. 1 year extension does not give the ring of confidence.
Capital markets, STT rationalized as was the expectation, but the commodities transaction tax on non-agro commodities has been brought in. On balance, trying to simplify FII, FDI, anything more than 10% FDI, anything less than 10% FII, how would you react?
I think it is a very, very positive move of what he's done on all of this to simplify the cost of transactions, and also in terms of allowing insurance companies to open up their branches in tier 2 towns and below, in terms of having the post offices engage in terms of mobilizing savings and actually working like a banking agent, in terms of the Women's Bank coming out on October 1st. I think these are all very, very positive moves. It will encourage investment to come in, and I think the budget overall is very practical and pragmatic.
Sunil Munjal, he invoked the inner Azim Premji in all of you, saying that, if Azim Premji can do it, so can you. But the fear now seems to be that while he has said that the surcharge is for a year, we know how these things actually work. It may continue if this government were to come back to power.
Yeah, I think that's the comment which was being made earlier, that for everyone to pitch in when there's a difficult time is a fair ask, but it should remain limited to this time, because it encourages all kinds of malpractice, and that's not a nice thing to do. Also, he's not mentioned how much he hopes to collect from this.
Yeah, he does. Super Rich, I think, is going to give him about 13,300 crore rupees, and other surcharges will give him about 4,700 crore rupees, I think, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think what he said is, anybody who's well off, companies and individuals, you need to pitch in right now. I need 200,000 crores for my additional spend. Let me see where I can get it from. So I think from that point of view, it's like a nicely balanced workman's budget. He's done a whole lot of little things across the full spectrum. There's no big bang thing, which was not expected either. But they built up expectations, in a sense, almost a fear, excise is going to go up, etc. So people are now relieved it didn't go up.
So if I were to ask you, Mr. Godrej, what would the one big headline or the highlight for you be as far as this budget is concerned?
Well, I think what is very good is that the fiscal deficit containment is very good news for the economy, and generally the expenditure pattern that he has elaborated in his speech, to my mind, is very growth oriented. So generally it will add to growth, and that's what we need. And I welcome the GST announcement, and I do hope, unlike what Rajiv said, I do hope he can bring it in even during this.
And the DTC is actually more confident of trying to bring the DTC into the budget session of Parliament, is what he's saying.
That will be good too.
Okay, Rajiv Memani, as far as the tax front is concerned, he spoke about GST, he spoke about DTC, he spoke about the Rangachari committee as far as safe harbour rules are concerned, did not say anything about the retrospective tax amendment, section 9, indirect transfers. That is what we were expecting as well, that he would leave that out of the budget, and that's exactly what's happened.
Yeah, so there are 3 committees that were formed. I think the third one was indirect transfer. So he touched the 2 committees, but he didn't talk about the indirect transfer committee. So
too controversial to talk about in a budget.
In a budget, and I think we should just refrain our comments on tax till the time we don't see the fine print. I mean, that's what history would indicate. So I think we should just look at that. In my view, the most positive piece is after a long time, a very focused thrust on investments. On increasing investment rates to GDP, on increasing savings rate to GDP, from moving away from gold to other financial instruments. I think that was very positive.
Okay. So, on balance, how would you rate the budget? Let me start with the right side. Mr. Godrej?
I would give it 7 to 8.
7 to 8, Vinayak?
It is reasonably okay for the infrastructure sector.
Okay.
but there are some critical issues which have not been addressed in infrastructure sector.
Mr. Sandhu.
Overall, I would say it's a positive budget, and I welcome it.
Rajiv?
Positive budget, but I think one should see the fine print. But
One should see the fine print. Malam?
I think it is a very good budget.
Very good budget. Mr. Munjal?
Clearly more good than otherwise.
Clearly more good than otherwise. That's the sentiment coming in from corporate India. For now, it's back to you.
Shireen Bhan there. Let's talk to Reema Tendulkar from our sister channel CNBC TV.